Mike, as I shared with you, I've known Mike known you a long time, and you are a lot younger than me, though. How old are you?
63.
My Lord, Mike.
I just look younger.
You're just a baby. I mean, how in the world? So, are you signed up on your Social Security?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's wisdom, ain't it? I signed up on mine at 62. I figured the health I'm in and the way I live, I'm going to get it as quick as I can.
Right. There's no guarantee, right?
I don't want to leave in it.
Yeah.
Let them get their own money's the way I figured. I want to get mine out quick as I can. Get that Social Security out there and draw it. How'd you feel when you drew your first check? I felt like a king.
Absolutely.
I thought, man, how does anybody need more money than this? I mean, that's pretty good money.
I remember my first Saturday off. I mean, what do you do on Saturdays off?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do.
I just getting that. I remember when Dad got his, had to get his own checkings account, started drawing that Social Security, buddy. He was absolutely. This is what I found with getting that Social Security. The first time you get it, you think, man, that's a lot of money. Next time you get it, you think, boy, that's really something. Did my check come in? And then the next time or two, you think you forget you even got it because it's already spent somehow.
Yeah.
It works out when you do that. But Mike, I'm thinking about these books and these things, and we'll get in this just a little bit if we can. But we think about these books and what you're working on here. And if anybody gets a chance to go, you got some on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and all kinds of books and things like that. And it's just it's really cool, man. What you do. Dwayne talks about it a lot too. Because he's an avid reader. Dwayne is.
Yeah.
And he really does. But tell us something. Let's talk about these books right here first.
Well, in this stack right here, I put the Christian books.
Mm-hmm.
These are all a message that I preached at one time.
All right.
That I decided to bring the message to life. Anything can have life if you just manifest it.
Uh-huh.
And the first one is The Crowded Sea. I actually wrote a song about this. This is about a young girl who was raised in a private school and homeschooled, and when she had to go to public school, she just stood out. She was so different, and that's the theme of the song was, as I am different, and I know I'm different, and they say I'm different. And The Crowded Sea, it brings in the fact that where Peter, when he walked out on the ocean going toward Jesus, the thing that made Peter sink was he heard the voices of the ocean, of the wind, telling him, you're not like us. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be out on this water. And it seemed like that's a lot of times that's what we go through in life today is we look around and we're not like the people at Walmart. We're not, I went to a ball game one time and somebody said a bad word beside my wife and I was ready to fight. Yeah. You're not supposed to do that. And then later on I got to thinking, wait a minute. Yeah. I was in their ocean. I was in their sea, and that's just what they do there. And the best thing I could have done was kept my mouth shut, right. And when she realized that everything was different around her, and then she realized the best thing that she could ever do was just serve God. And lapdog mentality was a message I preached, how that the Christian world today has become like lapdogs. We just want to sit into the lap of the pastor and have the pastor to pet on us and tell us it's okay. And if anybody else gets near the pastor, we're going to growl at them. And and we lost all of our senses. We don't know how to hunt. We don't know how to do anything to take care of ourselves. And without the master or the owners feeding us constantly, we'll starve to death.
Well, all right. Let's talk about, I notice here these books get a little. This one was awful thick. You must have been long-winded when you got to this when you preached this one.
I did, yeah.
Okay,
I've become Pentecostal when I got to that one.
Let me ask you something about ministering. Do you think, as you get older, now not everybody does, but me. Okay, I do this. When I minister, I'm a 28 minute minister. A lot of people want you to preach an hour and a half, and really they just don't have nothing to do at home. Okay. But I find myself wanting to get to the point. And when I talk to people sometimes, nice people that don't get to the point when you're talking to them, it drives me a little crazy, okay? And it's not their fault, okay? It's my fault. And I say that in order to be nice. I'm really thinking it's all their fault. But I think sometimes when we're talking to people and when we're in the pulpit, if people would let you get to the point, I mean, Jesus, when I read his ministry and I look at his ministry, it wasn't an hour and a half ministry. It wasn't out like he's preaching an hour or something. I mean, when he would teach or something, it wasn't that. I think I found 15 times that Jesus in the Bible that he actually ministered to the crowd and to people. But when you think about those things in our life, if we can get to the point with people, if we could actually have people we could get to the point with in the congregation, how much, instead of having to ease them into it, what do you think about that?
My Aunt Mary Hagerman, she was my pastor at the time, and she said one time, I'd much rather hear an hour-long message in 30 minutes than a 30-minute message in an hour. And like you said, just get to the point.
Right. And I think if we can share what God has gave us and get it done and share with people. I mean, so many times in life thinking, I attempted to walk on water one time in my life. I'd been back in the mountains with the Indians for a couple weeks, and I'd hiked down to the Gulf of Mexico. I had to come down out of the mountains and I went down to the Gulf. I got down there and I looked at that water, and I was pretty hefty in my faith, and I said, I'm going out there. I'm doing it. Prayed, spoke in tongues a little bit, shook all over, started right out there and sunk. So I backed up and I repented of a few things that I happened to remember, and I said, well, I'm going to attempt this again, and Lord, if you're with me, I'm your man, and I can do this. And Peter done it, and he was just a man. And so I took off again. God spoke in tongues a little, shook a little, held my hands up, sunk again.
Yeah.
I got back up there and I said, now, Lord, how have I failed you? I mean, Peter done this. And he spoke to me just as plain as we're sitting here. He said, why do you keep rolling your britcher legs up? I was preparing to fail.
Yeah.
Okay? And I rolled my pants down and went on about my business and didn't try it again. But I'm thinking so many times in life we prepare to fail instead of to win. And we sort of in preparation to fail.
Right.
And we think, I'm just ready to miss it. And I think we can be in all kinds of walks of life and still do that, and the levels of faith and places we're at. My dream car is a Chevrolet Spark, okay? I had one and I loved it. I just loved that car. Put 80,000 miles on it, loved it. But the transmissions don't hold up. And CVC transmissions start jerking a little, and that's why they quit making them, I guess. But anyway, I want another one. But I'm going to get one standard shift this time, 5-speed. So I get text messages all the time from Carfax, Carvana, Car Everybody, CarMax, showing me where it is.
Right.
And I look, and Janice tells me, go get that car if you want that car. I said, no. I don't want to go in debt. I don't want to spend no money. I'm trying to be careful and be thrifty. And, we only got X amount of dollars a month, and I want to be careful. But see, instead of thinking, surely I can afford $200 a month to get me a Chevrolet Spark. But it don't matter where you're at in life, that's still a constant battle. What do you think about that?
I think you're right.
Yeah. I think we got to be prepared to win. And if we get ready to win, and half the battle is that preparation of faith. And when we think I'm going to take myself and I'm going to look at my life and I'm ready to win, ready to do good. It's like sort of, there's a sense of us as humans waiting on things to go bad when things are going good.
Yeah.
And that can be a catastrophe, always waiting on it. When you think about your personal journey, Mike, and I know where you're from and where you come from, and I know bulk of your life. I mean, what are some things in this journey that have really influenced you and just situations that have influenced your life and brought you to this point? Because, man, when you look at what you're doing here, this is great. This is something that will outlive you, okay, and me.
Right.
And this is history
And that's the
in the
purpose.
making.
Yeah.
So what are some things that have influenced you?
Well, I was always a different type kid. I was the kid that didn't, if I had an opportunity to either sit and listen to the older people talk or play with the younger people, I was listening to the older people. And I was the quiet, one, something's wrong with that guy.
How come you pointed at me when you said older people, you pointed at me?
You was young then, too. I still remember you from high school.
I'm just kidding.
So we're pretty close.
Older people, that's okay. It's okay. I can take it. Go
But
ahead.
I wanted to listen to them.
Right.
And I heard every story that they all had to say. And the thing about my dad didn't tell a story one time. He told it over and over and over. And my dad didn't just tell it, but he acted it out. And
Right.
and what I wanted to do is all these things that my children don't know about, and the grandchildren, the nephews, the nieces, they don't know this stuff. So I want to put it down in word. And all these years, that, I never spoke a lot, but I listened.
Right.
And like I say, I was always the quiet one, but I retained these words, and now I want to, put them down on paper and let them come to life and manifest in other people's lives. Where, like I said, if you buy one of these books, and I have given away a lot more than I've sold. I've given away hundreds and hundreds of these books. If you can't afford a book, I'll give you one. And even if you can't afford a book and you don't want to buy it, I'll still give you one. And my purpose is just to get these stories out to people and let them know about them. Right. And like I told them, I said, not only will you know this, but this book, generations from now, people can still read this and hear these same stories. Yeah. I got one book that's got about close to 30 different stories of Shop Hollow in it. A lot right there on what they call one of the most feared places in the Hollow was Dash Hill. It was named after your family, And
well, I think about what you're saying. I think about I've tried to archive ministers over the years, okay, and I have got ministers that have been dead for a long time. I mean, Danny Reynolds. Who could not know Danny Reynolds, okay, when you think about Big Danny? Right. I mean, and way more about music, but I think it's about 3 chords on the guitar, 2 chords, okay?
Two's what he played.
He could play, and it was the same strumming all. Yeah, but I mean, think about him. And I got videos of him, and every once in a while I put them up. I put them on. Yeah. Okay, there's people that I've got that have come, and I think about Hazel Click. Okay, I
never
think
be
about
anybody like her again.
See, I think about people like that. I mean, she could put us all under conviction. Okay, I mean, I had a speaker on her car. Would drive up and down the road with a PA speaker hooked on a CB radio, preaching on it. Okay. I mean, there's just, when I think about, and I've tried to archive those ministers and play them. My dad been dead 3 years. I still play his programs. There's L.H. Connors who come to war, H. Richard Hall. When I look at history and I think about these people, this is history. And will anybody after me? Probably not, okay, because there is a cycle of time you go through, and I understand that. But I mean, I think about those things. Betty Jean Robinson, who's gone to be with the Lord now. I mean, I seen where her estate, here a lady is, a forerunner, I believe, in the gospel music, and has gone to be with the Lord. And she would call me usually at least every other week. Betty Jean would call me on the phone just to talk to me. And she said, John, the reason I call you is you always answer. And I called, and I went to a station and got her videos out of a dumpster. They were throwing her videos away after her program. They took her program off of TBN, and years ago, and got them and kept those. And Connie made those digital, and we play those all over the country every week. And even though she's gone to be with the Lord,
wonderful lady.
History, okay, and you don't know history's history when you're making it. And I've got a picture of me and her and Bob Smallwood standing outside in front of the studio out here, and I think about those. I think about those things in our life, and I think the history, and it's important. It's really important. And I talk about it sometimes. There's I shared this, and give me your thoughts on this. I shared this. I believe you have to have markers in life, okay, and their life is about chapters, but you have to have markers. Every Christmas we join together at the house. Okay, we try to do it religiously. Everybody comes in my little 800 square foot house, and we have ourselves a time. Right. Knock down, drag out, push the couch back. We just have ourselves a time. Thanksgiving, we gather. 4th of July, we gather. And 3 times a year is enough, okay? But we gather everybody together. Right. And I count that as a marker, okay? And because if you don't have markers in your life will just go by. It'll just drift past you. But you have to make markers happen. You've got to make them things happen. They won't just happen. And I was thinking about that after everybody left on Christmas the other night. I mean, Janice goes at it like a machine. But I think we're clearing all them white tables out of the living room, put them back
Right.
on the porch, push the couch back in, sweeping them up on the floor, washing the dishes and getting everything done. It takes work to make those markers.
Right.
But you got to make them happen. What are some things in your life when you think about markers in your life?
We did the same thing as long as my mom was alive. All the family went to her house, and she made punch, and we exchanged some gifts, and it's things that we'll never forget. Mm-hmm. When you look back in your childhood, there's a special feelings you had whenever that happened, that came on you, and
right.
and when you remember those, you remember those feelings that you had then.
Yeah. What are some things when you think about y'all going and having a punch? What are some things that you guys did that stand out in your mind?
One of the funny things is she would make certain cookies and things that were for Santa.
Yeah.
And we'd get up in the mornings and they were gone. So Santa must have came, right? He must have showed up because we didn't get the cookies and the cake. And
Yeah.
it was always gone the next day.
Yeah, I think about you think about that stuff. It stands out in your mind. Memories, you don't know memories are memories when you're making them. You think it's just normal life, ain't it? But you have to make it stuff happen, Mike. And I think it's up to us, especially men our age and our position in our families, to make those things happen, because it's easier just to let life go on. Okay, it's easier just to let life keep going,
right?
Instead of making a point. And I try to call my family that I've got. I try to call them up, and because I want to. And I had I was thinking about my cousin's daughter the other day, Jordan, and Lynn's daughter, and I really like Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I really like her, and she has went to college, and she's working here locally and doing some things, and I got thinking, I said, I have never called her or messaged her and just told her how much I appreciate her and how proud I am of her, and I made points to do those things, and I did, and I meant it. And we have to make a point, I believe, as we talk about, I believe that's part of this heart that we're supposed to have. It has to melt and do those things. And I try my best because I'm a little bit rough around the edges. And I try to be careful with that and not lean toward that man. Yeah. But I don't know. I think about it. What are some things now? I know you're working on your books, okay? I know this is a big thing. Again, I stress with people, they can get you on Facebook. They can find these on Amazon, and I know that's important. And I know this is a big project. Is there any other projects or anything else that you got going on right now?
Actually, it's been, a year and a half ago, I decided I wanted to take my stories and animate them. And I come up with the idea of how, and so I approached several people and asked them to help me, and they all, we don't know how to do that. So I watched enough YouTube videos till I figured it out myself. So now have YouTube with animated cartoons on it. Series that I wrote myself and completely. One is called Annabelle, and there's I think 6 different Annabelle cartoons. Annabelle's my dog, and Annabelle does all these different adventures, and I animated those, and then I do the cooking on YouTube and different things like that, and songs. I've written several songs, and the books, to write a book, it takes several months of research. You to write a historically accurate book. Several of the books I've written, some were either from messages that I preached or dreams that I had. I have realistic dreams. If you could just sit back and watch some of my dreams, you would be so excited. What's going on here. But I had a dream one time. A guy a couple was driving down a back road. And all of a sudden, the music on their old 57 Chevrolet started playing 1950s music, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And then up ahead, they seen a sign, and I'm seeing this in my dream. They seen a sign that said "Welcome," and the right leg of the W just falls off, and it creates an N, and becomes the word Nelcom, and a voice said, "Welcome to Nelcom, where you're almost welcome."
Okay.
And I seen the entire movie in my dream, and then I wrote all that down and created a book out of it. And it's probably my most popular book that I've ever written right now.
I think that being creative, like you are, is so cool, man. Now, I'm not creative, okay? I'm a beige and black type of guy. Now, I've always wanted to write a book for years, and I've never got done it. I've done some little outlines called Beach Hill Boys, growing up with Tim Boyd and Joseph Zauler and Kenneth Wagner and all of us growing up on Beach Hill.
Yeah.
And the things that we used to do, we would sleigh ride. You know what I mean? That was a big thing to sleigh ride. You know, we would sleigh ride and build buggies and ride them off the hill.
Everything is uphill or downhill there, wasn't it?
I mean, it was it. I mean, it was just the way it was.
No level.
I mean, so you're thinking about things, you know, I've thought about it, and, you know, I think about things as go along. But I think it's important to be where your passions are. And when you seem like you have concentrated on what's your passion, and then you're effective. You know, and I several years ago, I made some commitments and changed some things in my life that made me start to concentrate on specific areas, like the media ministry. To me, right now, I've done 90 of these interviews, okay, with people all over the country.
Yeah.
And I think it's history, okay? I think that what you've been through in your life and the things and your thoughts and your passions and these things, I feel like the transfer of information is one of the most is important to me.
Yeah.
And that's what a book's about, the transfer of information.
And it's a crime to lose it.
It is.
The lost information, that even from our immediate ancestors,
Right.
is amazing. The things that I'm studying my family history now, the things that I've found out about my family history just here in this country since the 1650s,
Right.
when my first ancestor came over here, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like this guy, this great 5-6 times back grandfather
Right.
should have been in the history books. The things that he done. And, you know, I got an ancestor that lived next door to Abraham Lincoln,
Yeah.
and fought in the Revolutionary War with him. And you might say, well, no, he's not that old. Well, it was his grandfather,
Right.
who's by the same name, and you know, he lived next door to him, was best friends with him, and I'm finding out all this information that's just amazing me, and stuff that my dad didn't know, because he didn't have the ability to research these documents and find this stuff out.
Yeah. You know, we found out what Kelsey traced back when we came from Germany, and the boat landed in Maryland, and you know how my great-great-grandfather was on there, John Henry Dash, and how he was on there. And his father died on the boat on the way over.
Wow.
And then his brother, I best I can remember the way Kelsey began to explain to me, but, you know, his brother had took his mom and children. And it's very interesting when you think about the history of those things. And a lot of my history, and I know yours may not be as bad as mine, has a lot of outlaws, okay, and people that have, you know, they've been through some things, okay? And I thank God that through the generations that started to change.
Right.
It changed some in our life because we always have that stuff go on. And we have things that happen and I don't know, I think, let's talk about this just a second. Let's talk about, if you think about in your life today and what you're doing and things you're doing, what are some challenges overall, outside of writing the books, in your heart, in your life? If you had to look at, you said today, I've got a challenge that I'm working on in my life. I've got something I'm really pushing on.
Well, I suppose everybody has the same challenges, I guess, you know, health-wise, our bills, you know, we all face all that, you know, the changing world that we see around us changing so rapidly. And, you know, and I watch Cooking with John just about every day, and I'm not sorry, I mean Breakfast with John about every day. And I understand that you see the same challenges. There's some crazy people out there.
Nuts.
And they are multiplying faster than what I consider us sane people are. And it's a challenge every single day. And you want to get mad and you want to scream, and then you try to fight it back, you know, just you hold your peace. Like you say, you rough around the edges, so you got to kind of control that just a little bit.
Well, you know, I run into that. I've had a renter a while back. Recently, I had a little issue out of, and I don't like rental property, but my dad blessed me to take care of my mom's rental property, which thank you, Dad, for that. That was been a real mechanical nightmare. But I'm doing it anyway. But a renter that was a little bit of an issue, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go over there and just slap him good, whoop him out in the road. And I could do that. And I said, you know, then I said, I'm going to give it a day.
Yeah.
You know, and I still got to go see him. But I'm thinking, but there's a part of you that's still right. See, I believe I can loose myself to feel and think however I want to.
Yeah.
It's what I do that it gets me in trouble or keeps everything okay. See, I think you can feel like slapping somebody. I think you can feel like all kinds of things in your life, okay? But it's what you actually do in the end of that thing. And when we feel, listen, man, I feel like being skinny, but I ain't.
Right.
But you feel things, okay? But what you actually do, and I think that's a challenge that you touched on, this emotion that we have to control, to bridle our tongue and to bring those emotions under control.
Do you ever look in the mirror and just surprise you and think, that's not me. I don't feel like I look like that.
Janice said that the other day. She said, I forget how she worded it anyway. She said, she looked in the mirror and said, who is that? But the other day, let me tell you what happened. So, I go to the doctor regular because I keep my checkups. Because I think that's crazy not to. Because the old mentality was, well, if you don't know what's wrong, my dad said, and he could have lived to be 120, but he just wouldn't do things, wouldn't take care of himself, wouldn't do things. But he wouldn't even go, had a stroke, and anyway, 10 years, still wouldn't go to any kind of therapy, do anything. But I go. I go my 6-month checkup, get my blood test done. I'm big on all. I get a colonoscopy next week. I watch things. My eyes, I've got 20/25 vision for some reason. Anyway, I went to the doctor the other day and I lost 6 pounds. Don't know how.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how. And but I knew when I come home and told Janice she was going to be mad because she exercises like a machine every morning. Every morning she's on that. We got one of those trampolines in the living room and a treadmill, and she goes miles and miles and does all that, and says she don't never lose no weight. And I lost 6 pounds by accident. And I laugh at it. I told her I come home and I said the doctor gave me some bad news, honey. Well, what is it? And I said, I'm losing weight so fast that they're getting worried about me. And I said, I'm scared none of my blue jeans are going to fit, and I'm just going to be all skinny, and the wind will blow me across the parking lot.
That's waste money on
So
the
there's a challenge, all right? There's a challenge. But I think the challenge in us, and when you talk about health, I think that's our most valuable asset, and we take it for granted. What do you think?
I think you're right.
Yeah, health. Yeah. We take it we think it like it's nothing.
And you was talking about being rough around the edges. God blessed me with something that made me mad for years, and I couldn't get mad fast. People could do something to me, and I wouldn't get mad about it, and it would take me a while, and people think, well, he's weak or something, but a day or two later, I'd think about it, then I'd get mad. But it'd be too late. Right. Well, it'd be kind of embarrassing to say something now because we already got over it. We made up and everything, but now I'm mad, but it's too late to be mad. And it would take me a while to get mad about things. But you was talking about your dad, and I use your dad for this example a lot. You might see him a little different because he's your father. But I've always said it is impossible to be around your father and not be happy. Mm-hmm. There's something about him, and I think Brother Hall preached this a lot about, that proximity anointing that you can have. Mm-hmm. Jesus spoke to people and they was healed. Peter walked along and people just touched him, they was healed. Right. But, there's a time when you can just be close to somebody. Mm-hmm. And I believe Eddie had that thing about him that where if you was near him, you had to feel happiness, and I did. Yeah. Within a minute of talking to him, I done forgot everything that had me down or anything, and I just felt happy all the time.
Yeah. And there was a gift. Dad had such a gift about those things. There was gifts that he didn't even know he had in his life, and he could. There was things that I don't know. I remember a lot and talk about them a lot, and I think about that, and that's all real. I think about the gift and we can have those gifts. I've got children that have different gifts. Mm-hmm. And I think about my oldest daughter, I think about Morgan. She can read the room. Yeah. And she doesn't know it, that she's got the gift. She does use it because she sells horses and stuff too. So she does use the gift, but she don't know she has it. But she can read the whole room when she walks in. And she can just in a minute, she's looking and thinking and reading. And subconsciously, that gift is working. Yeah. I just think about that. I think that when I think about my son, I think about Colson. Colson's got such a loving, humble spirit about him that he'll never leave the room without hugging you. Okay, he won't hardly leave the room. He'll come over. If he's got his boots on, he comes over in the living room, hugs me in the recliner before he leaves.
Yeah.
And he's got that way about him. And I know he worked with a banker on a project a while back, and that banker talked to me about Colson and would cry. You know, he said, I love that boy.
Yeah.
You know, talk to me about it. You know, I think about it. And I think about the gift. All three of my kids a different gift. I think about my youngest daughter, Kelsey. I could sit her down with a hobo, and she could talk to him and communicate. Or I could sit her down with the president of a company, and she can talk to him. She can sit there with him. It's so smooth, and we can be together doing something. We done announced at the fair this past year, and I want her beside him because we just roll off each other and talk to each other. We don't have to say it. You know what I mean? But she got that gift, and I think the gifts that we have in our life, and these are gifts we take for granted because they become natural. It's like if you live in a house with a good view, okay? We used to, the house we lived in before, I had 18 feet of glass on the wall in my bedroom, and I could see all the way up Grattan from Tazewell out that way. I could see it snowing miles away, and the snow never get to me. But I got to where I took it for granted. Okay, I mean, it really didn't make that much difference to me, you know, after a while. And I think the gift can be the same way. We get to where we sort of it's just there. What do you think?
I think you're right.
Yeah. I think about people who were just gifted, you know, and think about people in our life, like Melvin Muncy. Gifted.
He had a gift of people repenting.
He could
preach, they're going to come to the altar.
And you and I could do the same thing, and people would look at us. But Melvin could do it.
And they'd run.
Yeah. It just is fascinating when you think about people. But like everything in our life, we take those gifts for granted, and we sort of take them like they're, and I think that's just the way it is. It's like driving in the wintertime with the heat on. In the summertime, we turn the air conditioner on instead of rolling the window down.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just...
we make the temperature in the summertime, we'll make the temperature 60 degrees with the air conditioner. In the wintertime, we're going to turn the heat on and make it 70 degrees.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's 60, we're cold.
Yeah. Well, what do we do? Where do we set the thermostat at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just sort of... I don't know, man. I think about things. So when you think about being passionate, right now you're passionate about these books, right?
Right.
That's one of your passions in your heart.
We have our family reunion, different things, and I look at all of my nephews and nieces, and they know very little about my father. And
right.
This one book right here, this is the one probably that would excite you more than anything. It's what we've been talking about. This is Shop Vegas, Moonshiners and Ministers. Mm-hmm. It's based on true stories.
Okay.
And it's what you talk about, how they came from pretty much outlaws
right.
and become ministers.
Yeah.
You know, half the people that were ministers there in Shop Hollow where I was raised, they were moonshiners at one time. You know, they had stills over the holler and everything, and then the revivals came through and they got saved. And this is all just a combination of about 30 different stories that my dad and Claude Perkins and different ones out of the holler used to tell, and I put it all in just different stories. And now, 50 years from now, the family can open this up and read these and still remember everything that we sat around the campfire on Slate Creek and tell these stories every night, and different monsters and ghosts and people getting saved and just all different things. You know,
I wear my grandkids out, especially Carter. When he rides with me a lot if I come to war or something, because I point out things all the way up and down the road.
That's what
here's where this was, here's where that was. And times he's told me, he said, I can't remember all this. And then the other day I was coming with my mom. We were riding out. We've been to the grocery store when we come back to war. And there's a little red building coming down Pine Ridge on the right-hand side. Hootie Kaiser used to live up over top. Do you remember Hootie had a Sportster Harley? He had a Sportster Harley Davidson. And I remember that just like yesterday. But Hootie lived right up on top. And have you ever seen that little building? It's red.
I have, but I don't know what it was.
It was my dad and my uncle had a shop there and done panel board repair for the coal mines. Okay? When I was a boy, I couldn't have been 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Okay? But in that little building, no parking. There's not parking. The building comes out to the road. Yeah. And if you go through, if you tap and see the thing, they had a shop there. And my mom didn't remember it. She didn't know it. She said, I never remember them having that. And I remember as a boy, Dad would bring me there. and I'd stay with him during the day, and I would go up and down Pine Ridge, talking to people, knocking on doors, playing with kids, until they got up in the evening. Everybody run me off, wouldn't answer the door, but I would go up and down that Pine Ridge as a little old boy, and Dad would give me a roll of black tape, and man, I was uptown with a roll of tape, because you could do all kinds of stuff with a roll of tape. I used to love it, but I remember going up and down through there and thinking about those memories, in my mind, and that other people. And Mom said, I never remember us having that shop there, and I don't remember having it. But golly, you think about stuff like that, and I know some of those things are. People are not going to care. I have to be honest enough to know some people are not going to care.
Right.
Okay? And that's a hard truth.
We're going to tell them anyway.
We're going to tell them. We're going to point it out. They're going
I
to say,
drive my kids crazy telling them this used to be the cinder block place, or this used to be a packing place up on the hill here at Lambert's. And
You remember at East War, there used to be an ice company? If you ever get a chance, over at East War, you know where Branches lived on the corner? Mr. Branch, I don't know if you remember them. They live right there on the corner where you go back around in the alley. If you go in the alley to the left, there used to be an ice company there where they sold ice. They made ice and sold it. And they had the big cork freezers out in front. The ground had cork in it where they froze the ice. And
my grandmother lived there back in the 70s.
Sold ice out there. Yeah. And I remember those things. I think about that stuff, and then I'm honest enough to know some people don't care. After a period of time, we think about stuff we've seen sometimes, and they look at us and be cordial with us, but they're all thinking about something else, which is like I did when I was little.
Yeah, you had a car dealership, a new car dealership. I don't remember if it was Chevy or Chrysler right there at the bridge. That's apartments now.
The down there where Grant's was. There was a car dealership right there where their parking lot was. My dad sold cars there. Yeah. Sold Carl Kennedy a car right there. Carl come through and didn't have any credit, didn't have nothing. I don't know if he had a job, I don't know, but he come there, and Carl Castle, I believe was his name, Dad was working for. And he come in and wanted a car. And he said, Eddie, he said, Dad was telling me, he said, how do you, he said, I feel good about him. I feel like he'll pay. And sold Carl Kennedy a car right there. Yeah. And you talking about somebody interesting. This past year, we went to a big horse show in Tennessee, and that we go to every year. And Dean Kennedy come, and Tim Boyd, and Dwayne. Yeah. We're all together. I swear if we didn't tell more stories and had more stuff we come up, and we got talking about things, we wore everybody out around us talking about yesterday and the things we'd been through, and just laughing and going on about it. Dean's got a lot of stories and things that he shares, and I'll never be able to get him in front of a camera. But a lot about Carl. Oh man, I mean, I think about Carl, that what he in his life. I mean, how rich.
The walk to D.C. was amazing.
Yeah. Carl said battery. He didn't say battery. He said something to me. We talked about something. He said battery. I remember can't remember a lot of stuff where my truck's parked sometimes, but he would say battery. And he wore his toboggan about half up on his head. And I'll do it sometimes. And I tell Chris, his granddaughter, I said, I'm playing a Carl today. I've got my hat up on top of my head, But these memories that we have in our life, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think about it. All right, when we talk about this, let's think about this. When we think about this community that we're living in now and the changes that we've seen, we've all seen changes. What are some changes overall that you think you've seen in this community we live in, this world we live in now?
It's fast-paced, isn't it? Everything's become electronic and just so quick. And one of the biggest things we lost is accountability.
Right.
The things that was wrong when we was young is no longer wrong, and just it's just lots of changes.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of changes, and I think a lot of it has to do with our culture. We've seen things. We confuse the access to information with knowledge. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we have great access, but I think sometimes, and I'm as guilty as the next, because I'll Google and check, and I'll look, and when I'm doing logos and working on things, instead of getting down with a pencil, which I'm not gifted, and drawing something out, I'll go on AI or I'll go on ChatGPT, and I'll say, I need a logo of such and such, and I need it to be this classic, and work on it like this. Because I'm not gifted in that area.
It works great.
So, I mean, and AI, people absolutely, I really believe, have no concept of what AI is doing and what it's going to do. I was thinking about the other day, I was watching this program talking about how when it comes to reading x-rays, how the job of an x-ray technician will be near extinct.
Yeah.
Because, when you get an x-ray, they say come back in 4 days and we'll tell you if you're going to live or die. You know what I mean? We'll tell you if that tumor's big or if you've got lungs left. But they say now they can run it through in 20 seconds, run it through AI and let it search it out and look at these things. So I'm thinking, man, how much is changing?
The thing about AI, though, it's still limited to the amount of information that it can get from a human.
Right.
Some human has got to put that information in, or it wouldn't have that information. Right. It's artificial intelligence. It's not its own intelligence. Mm-hmm. And so it might eliminate one job, but it's going to create another job, providing that information to it to be able to do that.
Yeah. But the information,
maybe several more jobs.
The information only had to be provided once, though.
Yeah, that's true.
See, that's the thing that we'll run into. And I think I've studied a lot on the power consumption is astronomical, because you don't think of how much it really does. Now, I can take a program like we're doing today now and drop it in AI and tell it I want it to cut it into 30 to 60 second ranges. It writes the hook. It does all the work for me. It lays out the text. It's beautiful. Yeah. How much more I can do. And people that think they can fight that are just going to be fighting a losing battle. Right. I'm just telling you what I believe, okay? And it's all right. I know we can say, yeah, but what about when the computers fry or when all this happens? Well, when it does, that'll be something. But there's so many fail-safes in place and so much stuff that goes on now. I think about growing up and the things that we had that we was fascinated by, and I think about the change in things now. Can you imagine now not having a telephone? Okay? Can you imagine not having a telephone?
I was 14 years old before we got a telephone.
Yeah.
Or I was 14. Just think about this also, you got to look at is the lost abilities that our next generations are going to have. There's so many things that our forefathers, our parents or grandparents could do that we can't do today.
Right.
Because we had a machine or a computer or something that does that for us. And now we no longer know how to do that. So when all of this new inventions, this AI and everything starts doing everything for us, if we ever get to the place to where we lose that, we're not going to know how to do any of that on our own.
Well, I don't want to be a pessimist or a naysayer, but I think that ship has left the port.
Yeah.
Okay? But this is a deal. I was reading the other day on this. They say that an electrician, the average electrician that comes out of school and goes into the electrician will make more money than a doctor.
Yeah.
Because most electricians start their own business over the end. But an electrician or a plumber will make more money, be more financially free and stable than a doctor.
Yeah.
Because we're always going to need somebody to wire these things up. We're always going to need somebody to run the sewer lines and the water lines. And I don't care how civilized we get, we're going to need we're going to need blue collar work. We're going to need people. And they're going into that field so much. There's people going into the field of trades now, an awful lot. Okay? And as smart as we think our technology can be, when the power shuts off and the backup power runs out, somebody's still got to check that breaker box, baby.
Yeah.
Somebody's still got to do something. So I don't know. I think about that a lot, and I think about those things over. I try to work with my kids on what tools are.
Yeah.
Okay. My youngest grandson, John Colson, back last summer, I had about 15 screwdrivers together, and I lay them on the porch and make him show me the difference between a Phillip and a straight. And when he get it wrong, I'd pick him on the head with it, give him a little peck. You know what I mean? I'd just give him, and it helped him a lot. Because whenever he would almost get one wrong, he'd start shutting his eyes because he knew I was going to hit him on the head. And I've done Carter the same way. Carter and I work, and I've brought him in the shop, and we wire up a receptacle, work on extension cords, and do some things like this, and because I'm scared that they won't understand how to use their hands in that respect. Okay? And because you and I, in our age, we took that for granted.
Right.
We didn't think nothing about it. We could plumb or wire or build or
I held
do.
the light.
Well, don't admit that. I'll take that out. But I mean, and I was holding a light for a guy I was working with the other day. I said, I used to do this in the mines. I know what I'm doing. Okay, but I think about things that I want them to learn how to use their hands and how to change a flat. Okay, and how to do things, man. That worries me.
My two youngest sons, one of them's in his third year of college, and he's taking IT. And it's the area he's going into in information technology. But my youngest son is a senior in high school. He can do anything. He's a straight A student, prompt, hard worker. You know, was captain of the football team. He wants to get into electrical engineering. He's got 4 rides offered to him, and he can go anywhere he wants to college. We get in constant mail and text messages from Marshall and different places, but that's what he wants to do. And there's always going to be that there, like you said. And he could try to be a lawyer or something, but he's going to make more money and a whole lot less. He's going to be liked by a lot more people if he does the electrician than what he would, a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Yeah, my son-in-law is worried to death about my grandson's going into some things. He wants to be an accountant and some things he's still working his way. He graduates this year. And he wants him to be an electrician. He can get him an apprenticeship and do this stuff here. And he said, Dad, I can do all that anytime. Mm-hmm. Right now, I want to get a career. I want to do this part at this point in my life. And later on, if I want to do that, I'll do that. But right now, I want to go on to college and I want to get this and I want to get that type of career. I don't want to go work for myself right now. I don't want to do that. I'm not looking at that. I want to go into this field. And because he's young, and at that point you got forever.
Yeah.
And so he's thinking I want to go into that and do that. And I think it's good. You got time, man. We got time.
Yeah, we were extremely blessed. I was thinking I was raised on a dirt road, coal heat. No telephone in the house until I was 14, and we had one bathroom, and just a house full of kids. And I got to the point now where I've got a really nice house, 100 acres of land, a nice cabin on my property, and I've written 12 books. And I started writing when I was a teenager. I just didn't know how to publish.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of these books I can show you are 30 years old, and I just had to turn them into print and get them published. And once I learned how to publish,
you're dangerous.
I found out it was free. I don't have to pay an editor or a publisher, $4,000 or $5,000 to have it done. I can just do it myself. And I've actually published 2 other books. One young man, or he's older than us. From Warrior Minds that lives in Florida now. He sent me all his information, and I helped him get it published. And I think it was a #1 on Amazon for a while, about life in Warrior Mind.
Yeah.
And but and then I my children, I hope, and that's the goal, is for our children to do better than us. Never be jealous of your children. Maybe your brother or your sister, but I'm just kidding. But you're never jealous of your own children. You want your goal is your children to be better than you. I remember the first time I preached, and this wasn't true, but he felt it. My dad said, "Son, you got me beat." I didn't have him beat.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to be better than him, and he was fine with that.
Tell people who your family is. Your father, mother.
My dad was Junior Muncy. He was a World War II vet, and there's a lot of stuff about him in here. He was a hero in World War II. At 12 years old, Reverend Lewis came to my grandma's house, knocked on the door. She opened the door. He says, "I have got," 2 of them, they said, "We have gotten your son Rose," Rose, and your brother Otis Hicks. We got him, is Otis or Johnny? I'm sorry, but anyway, we got him tied up, or we killed them. We caught them with a steel, and we killed them both. They're dead. My dad, at 12 years old, pulls out a shotgun, holds it on the revenuers, and insists they take my dad and my grandmother to see that my uncle was okay. They started screaming, "No, we didn't really kill him. We didn't really kill him. We just got him tied up." He holds the gun on them until they get to the steel, unties my uncle and my and my great uncle and lets them go. And then my grandmother shames them so much that they don't file any charges. They just leave and everything's okay.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man he was. And then at 19 years old, he joins the Army, and I guess he's drafted, I suppose. But he lands on D-Day in Normandy, and then fights a total of 5 battles. He scores extremely high on everything. His ranking, he saves a man's life from Ohio. They're both in a foxhole. A piece of shrapnel goes past my dad, hits him, paralyzes him. Dad picks him up through all the gunfire and everything, carries him out to a medic, and saves his life. Back in the 80s, once Dad had already left war and lives in Tazewell at the time, he finds out this man's phone number, calls him. His wife answers the phone and asks for him. She said, well, who is this? And he says, well, this is the man who saved his life. She started screaming, Junior Muncy, is that you? Is that you? And after that, they started getting together. But that's the kind of man he was. He was a man who was a moonshiner when he was young, very riotous. You know, they fought a lot. They done a lot of different things. There's 5 brothers, and they was stayed into a lot of stuff all the time. And from that to being saved and becoming a minister and raising 9 extremely successful children who had all lived good lives and knew God, and most of us live all except my brother Eddie live here in the Tazewell area, and they their children are nurses and business owners and sheriff deputies and my son's owns a car dealership up the road, and it's just all different things. The success, extremely, some of the best athletes ever came through Tazewell High School has been my dad's grandchildren. And so they made a big influence not only in McDowell County, but here also.
Well, I think the heritage, when we talk about those things, well, let's talk a little bit when we think about this, okay? I see a change in young people nowadays, a little bit different character than what I did. And I know there's a great big gap between now and when I grew up.
Yeah.
Okay? But I see almost a fear on young men as far as finding a woman. I don't know how else to put that.
Right.
But getting a girlfriend or finding a mate or finding a wife or finding somebody, there's a fear there. And the culture's changing, okay? I mean, I see the culture changing a little bit. But, I mean, it's a different type of atmosphere. I mean, did you ever have girlfriends growing up when you was young? Or
I wasn't allowed to.
Am I the only one? Well, see, I had like 8 or 10 by the time I was in junior high, okay? I was in love so many times I couldn't remember.
Oh, I loved everybody, yeah.
Okay, I mean, but I would stop at the drugstore at the McDowell Pharmacy and buy those engagement rings. I think about, but now it's like you don't even see the communication between the boy and a girl. You don't see the communication there.
If I actually married everybody that I married in my mind through elementary and junior high, I remember there was a baker girl that lived right below, I think, Roger White. There used to be a house right there, Frank Muncy's house, and then you went on up toward the lake, and there was a little house there on the right where Rogers is now.
Okay.
Or one of those guys now, and there was bakers lived there, and I was so in love with that girl. And this was in 1st or 2nd grade, and I still remember that. And it just kept on going from there on up, until I was a senior, and I met the mother of my sons.
Well, I just think there's a difference though now in the culture, okay? And it's a little bit. I mean, it's different. It's a little worrisome, okay? But I don't see the communication that I've seen amongst people, and it comes a lot to do with our devices and our phones and our things like that. And I understand that. I can't fight. You can't fight that. I don't believe you can fight that. I mean, we can try a little bit, and I do think they're doing some great things now. In some states, in some counties, I mean, they're like cell phones in school. There's no cell phones in the school.
Right.
Okay, and there's things that they're doing that are stopping, really helping to build that. I mean, I do see some progress being made in some areas. Okay, and that gives me hope. But I worry about relationships that are missing and things like that. And I've had people before, I've had some people gripe about Facebook. They say, I don't like that. I got one buddy that calls it 2 Facebook. But I mean, I always gripe about it. And I said, well, hold on just a second. I communicate with some of my cousins that I normally wouldn't
Right.
get to communicate with. And I talk to them, and I share a picture with them of what our family did at Christmas, and I wouldn't get to show them that picture normally.
Right.
And I said, so, you know, it's like a good pistol. It's all what you use it for. So I said, I think that sometimes you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here.
Exactly, yeah.
You need to look at things and learn how. And then I've had people that they say, I'm going to get off Facebook. All I see is drama. All I see is this. And I'm thinking, don't you know how to block people, man? You click block. You know what I mean?
I like that 30 days news. I use that on.
Yeah. You know, I just think, and I did have a family member the other day put one of those glamour photos up, and I started to message them and tell them I thought their Facebook had been hacked because I didn't recognize who it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think about the culture of today. It's a little different. It's a little, you know, when I look at it, I'm a little bit caught off guard by it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I just. One thing I'm thinking, Noah was a bad cat, wasn't he? I mean, you know, I've been, for the last month, you know, I've been going back. I've loved Genesis, okay? I'm a real Genesis freak. I love the book of Genesis. But anyway, I think about Noah. He was a man, okay? He wasn't like me and you. I'm just going to say, he wasn't like you. He wasn't like us.
Right.
This sucker, 120 years to build an ark. And God just gave him a little old brief blueprint and told him, be sure and pitch it, okay?
He didn't even write it down, just told it to him.
I mean, and here he is, 120 years, dragging these big trees. He had to get these big cedars
Certain type, yeah.
and cut them and build a ark. Man, you ever think about that? I think I'm fascinated when I think. I've been following some things and watching some videos and things about that really began to bring it more to life. And I thought, you don't think about the sweat and how God will give you just a little instruction. And one time when I started the church here in Tazewell, over on Shake Rag, 120-year-old building, the bad side of town. I'll just tell you, it was at that point. It wasn't a good place to be. You didn't want to go down through there at night. It wasn't a good place to be. Every window busted out, 4 foot of water in the basement, steeple leaning to one side, not to mention the termites. And God said, here, this is the church I want you to open. He didn't say, I need you to sweep and mop, pump the water, change out the breaker box, do this, do that. But see, I think so many times in life, God will give us, like Noah, give him a little bit of brief instruction. And I think that's why we get confused sometimes and caught off guard. That little bit of word, there's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think, when you pastored for a while?
Yeah.
Where at?
The True Light Church in Shopala, yeah. My home church.
Mary's
where I was raised,
church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there for a long time. Mary was a great lady, wasn't she?
This original church was built in 1949
Gee whiz.
in the Cove. Yeah.
I think about Mary every time. I think about her a lot. I think about Mary Hagerman.
We used the lumber from the old clubhouse in Berwyn to build the new church, and the new church is, I think, maybe 40 years old. And then the flood came through during all this flooding this past year, and damaged the foundation so much that we're going to have to rebuild.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Man. Gee whiz. But I
It didn't get in sanctuary, but it just damaged the foundation, really made it.
Was pastoring pretty
It did.
easy? Was that something you just done so naturally? You
it was
just
bed of
breezed through,
roses.
got up in the morning,
It was wonderful.
took off with it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the most wonderful thing ever.
What challenges did you find when we talk about pastoring a church? When you think about you being a pastor, what were some of the challenges?
The biggest thing I had to overcome was the fact that this was kind of like when Jesus went home to Nazareth.
Right.
And this was just Junior's boy. This was just Michael, you know. How's he going to tell us what to do, you know? And they never looked at me like that, but I still felt that way.
Right.
And it was a long time for me to overcome my feeling that way. And I think I felt a lot more love after I stepped down, people coming to me and telling me how much they miss me and how I'll always be their pastor, not dishing the new guy. And the new guy's great. Everybody loves him. He's doing an amazing job. And nothing like that, but just especially the young people who grow up under you. And I know you'll be a witness to that. The young people who grow up and when they look back at their childhood, you was their pastor.
Right.
And when they tell you that, it's such a wonderful feeling. They're like when I coached Little League football here in Tazewell, that was years ago, and I'm walking up to people in their 30s now or close to 40 years old that walk up to me and say, "Hey, Coach," and it's a good feeling, the way people look up to you and know that you had an influence on their life that way.
Mary was her name. Mary was her name. Used to call me. I pastored her for years. Anyway, she ended up dying in North Carolina, but she always had battle with drugs and different things like that. But after the church, after I left the church, and she'd went on to North Carolina somewhere, she'd call me sometimes homeless. Call me and talk to me and tell me how much she loved me and how she still had the Bible that I gave her.
Yeah.
And she loved Janice and I, and she would talk. And I've got in the back of my Bible, I wrote down every time I baptized somebody, I wrote the date, where it was. I wrote in the back of the Bible, and I think I'm going to go over those sometime and look at those. And I don't know, man. I was called to pastor one church. I wasn't a pastor. I was called to pastor one church. And I think that's where some people get confused. There's people that are pastors. Johnny Muncy, he could pastor, one of those storage buildings somewhere.
Yeah.
He's got the gift. Okay, Lawrence Hayes.
Do you not feel that some people, even though they're not pastors, are still your pastor?
Yeah,
You
they speak into your life,
there's people that I feel like are my pastors, even if they're not pastors, even if I don't go to their church, they're still my
Dwayne
pastor.
and I talk almost every day. Dwayne and I do. He called me today when I told him I was going to be interviewing you and Brian, his cousin, and talking about that. And he said, "Man, that'll be real good." And I said, "But we talk, we talk every day. We speak into each other's life every day." And I think it's important to have people like that. Okay, I think, Mike, you got to make stuff happen. I really believe that. And I think so many people are waiting on things to happen. I've seen people say, "I went here and nobody spoke to me." I said, "Well, who did you speak to? You know what I mean? Who did you actually speak to?" And there's things in our life you got to make these things happen. And say, "I'm going to make those things happen." When you talk about having people speak into your life, you got to communicate with people to get that to happen.
You was talking about Mary Hagerman. Let me share a little bit about Mary with you. Mary was raised. She was raised as Baptist, but her father, he was kind of different, I guess. John Muncy Sr. was kind of a different man, not a Christian man. Her mother was wonderful, hardworking. Done almost all the work. She worked in the garden all the time, and my grandfather he drank a lot. The only job that I know of him having, he worked for Doc Carr, and he was an assistant for Doc Carr. But Mary was raised in probably not the best atmosphere. Their house had dirt floors. This is a picture here of the house that they was raised in. My dad said when it snowed, the snow would blow in under the bottom of the house, or the walls right into the house. It was just cold all the time. They didn't have a lot because I guess my grandpa didn't try to do a lot for them. But at 14 years old, Mary was saved. At 14 years old, she was already baptizing people. Twice in her lifetime, not once. John.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice in her lifetime, she was struck by lightning. So bad, you could smell her flesh burning, that the doctors and nurses had to surgically remove her clothing that had burned to her skin twice. Yet she kept on preaching and ministering and raised to maybe 10 children, and that was a struggling, hardworking Christian woman who, at a certain point, became the pastor of a church, and then, like I said, she said that it'd be much better to hear a hour-long message in 30 minutes than 30-minute message in an hour, and she pastored a church, and she opened this church to everybody. Right. She had Catholics preached in this church. She had Baptists. She had Methodists. She had Church of God. People of all denominations were allowed to preach in that church as long as they stayed in the Bible. Yeah. And she was such a wonderful woman, and the fact that I got to preach her funeral was such an amazing thing. And one thing I remember standing up is saying, "I don't have to judge this lady. I don't have to tell you whether she's in heaven or she's in hell. That's between her and God. But I feel confident." You know.
Where's Mary buried at?
She's buried in Hartwell, Yeah.
In Hartwell. Over there in this, it used to be the black cemetery and the white cemetery over Hartwell. You know, I'd like to get me a place over there, but Janice won't do it, you know, because it's very reasonably priced.
It is, yeah.
And I think I don't even have grade plots right now, but we've been thinking about getting them or letting the kids worry about them one. I ain't quite sure. But I mean, Mary would open the door for you to preach it. I mean, I preached there many times. She invited me to preach. She was just good to. Do you remember coming around War Mountain? That Hazel Collective had that church?
Yes.
Right up from Alt Downs?
Yeah.
Right there on the road. I mean, it stuck out on the road, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when you drive by there, you don't understand what history there is.
The church would be rocking, and there's nothing but straight down to the river.
That's all it was,
Railroad
right around
tracks.
War Mountain.
Wow.
You know, when you go on around there on that curve, there was a beer joint, too, right on that other curve.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but I know what you're talking about.
Alt Downs was out over here, but you go past it, between it, there's another beer joint that used to be right on that curve. I showed Janice the other day when I went across there. She said, "What in the world?" I said, you didn't have to have a place to park. They somehow cars just parked, didn't they?
Yeah.
And people just would get in there. You think about that, man.
And Hazel and Herman's church would be full. And I don't know where they put them on.
Where in the world? I mean, it actually stepped out on the road. You know, right out on the edge of the road.
It was a good place to go to church.
It was wild. I never got to go to church there. I knew it was there.
Extremely talented musicians. Yeah, your cousin, I think he went to church there a lot.
I never did get to
David,
go.
I think, did.
David?
Yeah.
Yeah, David's pastoring now. He's pastoring the church. He's doing good. Him and his family doing good.
Yeah, good.
And,
yeah, he's very talented.
Yes, he is. And I took him one time. One time we went I took him with me to Jamaica, to the mission field one time. And we were a big church rocking, okay? And Dave was playing the piano and rocking, and it was just, you know, we was wide open. And anyway, there's a lady come up, and she was full of devils. Son. So she reared back and she beat her head right on the altar and raised up and growled real big.
Yeah.
I walked over at David and I said, what do you think about this? He said, you get this one and I'll get the next one. He said, I remember like it yesterday. And I jumped over top of the altar. I jumped over top of it.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of them black ladies. We grabbed her and wrapped her up in a sheet, tied her up, took her down on the floor and cast the devils out of her.
Yeah.
But I mean, you didn't have to wonder, is there a devil? You know. I was in a service one night back down in Mexico. It must have been 2,500, 3,000 people. About 6 light bulbs hanging on a string in the middle of nowhere on a big cement platform. And the whole crowd hushed. Went whoosh, like a wind fell over top of them. And all of a sudden they got to crowing like roosters. Devils crowing. Yeah. And one of them spoke perfect English, stand up on the front and said, I won't come out. And we got to casting devils out all night long. But I mean, you didn't have to wonder nowadays where, let me share this, and it's all right, okay? We don't have to agree on everything. I like you, and I think you're sharp. I admire you. I would say that right before I make sure if we do disagree. But sometimes I believe we counsel people so much when we need to turn to them and say, listen, you idiot. The reason you're in financial problems, you keep spending more money than you make. You need to quit it. Stop it. And we counsel people and say, well, I'm depressed. And depression is real. I'm not acting like it's not real. But there isn't many people in America that don't have more things to be happy about than they do to be sad about.
Right.
A good friend of mine the other day messaged me and was going through some battles, and it's real. I understand these things are real. And I said, I want you to send me a list of 5 things that you feel are great in your life. And they did. And I said, just looking at those 5 things, how could you be depressed? I mean, look at how blessed you are. And health was there, and she wrote good friends on there, and all these things. I said, somewhere we've got it. And I know not everybody can take it, okay? I've got friends that pastor very soft and gentle.
Right.
And we need those people, not to be like me. I mean, I think when you join a church, it'll make you climb through the window the first 30 days to see if you really want to be there. All right? You ought to be serious about what you want to do.
Right.
And when I had people join our church in Tazewell, when they joined the church on the rock, I let them join for 1 year. I had a card and a form they filled out for 1 year. And took a lot of flack over it. And I said, I'm going to let you be a member for 1 year. And here's what I want you to agree to. Pay your tithes, come to service, Help if we need you. Let us know if you can't do it. And if you're not going to be here, just tell me. If you say, John, I don't want to come to church Sunday, I want to go fishing, then tell me you want to go fishing so I don't worry about you.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I said to you. Now, in a year, we'll sit back down, and if you want to be a member, you don't have to lose and be mad at each other. You can go on and go somewhere else. It's okay. Because I think we got to have that release in people, because people go to different churches and have different pastors, and some people, I don't know, but I take a little flack over it, but that's my thought.
I think there's two things that is really hurting today. One of them is information. People see what everybody else has and think they should have it themselves. Mary Hagerman told me one time, she said, I see people leaving marriages today because they say they're not happy. They're leaving situations I would have prayed to have had.
Right.
I would love to have the situation, the things that they have, and the homes and the cars and everything else. I would love to have all that, and they're leaving it saying they're not happy. And the second thing is accountability, and acceptability. People accept. You was talking about demons. People accept demons today.
Yeah.
Because they're told it's okay. It's okay to be like that. There's nothing wrong with that. So they accept it, and by not denying that demon, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It just it's a home with them because they become pals. They become friends with each other, and it's hard to get rid of company if you're good to that company and you're feeding that company and you're happy with it and they got a nice place. What was it David said? Do I make my bed in hell? And if that demon if he's living in hell and happy, that demon, if he's living in a place that's heaven to him, then he's going to be happy there. Yeah. He's not going to want to leave.
Right. Well, I think sometimes we can, the path downhill is much easier, and just because you love the Lord and you're born again, don't mean you don't want to do bad things. I know a lot of people seem like they can, but I mean, it doesn't mean that you still have. There's things I've had in my past in my life, and not in the last couple of years, but raised up that I didn't know was there. A little meanness come up, and I think, gosh, I did not know that was still there inside of me. Okay? So I think that's real.
Yeah.
And that's why the Bible said you got to bridle your tongue. And, you got to bridle it, and you can't take a horse's tongue out of their mouth. You got to learn to control it. Same thing with us.
When Jesus came up to the man that they called Legion, he didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
For them demons all of a sudden become very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They didn't feel welcome anymore. So that's when they started speaking, we don't want to be here anymore because this is a very uncomfortable place for us. Right. And society has made sin, possession, obsession, they made it so comfortable because they made it acceptable.
Yeah. Well, I think, though, let's think about this when we talk about, I believe there's there's more people being added to the kingdom of God today than there's ever been. There's men and women
There's a great
getting born
stat
again.
out right now.
Okay, we're being born again. There's things that are happening in the kingdom. Now, what we do, these little yapping things in the background, little devils, tend to make a lot of noise. Okay, and there's things that go on. But I think that there's hope. I really believe with all of my heart there's hope. And there's hope for my grandchildren. There's hope for these things that in the kingdom of God, that there is a move of God in the land. I really believe that right now. And I heard H. Richard Hall, I was watching one of his videos the other day, and he was talking of the move of God in the land today. Several years ago, he was talking of those things, and I don't know, I think of it and I see that hope and I know that it's there, and I don't know, but I can't get away from Noah. That was one tough cat. Can you imagine the faith that he had to build that when there was no rain? Okay, was no rain, and hadn't been no rain.
Stubborn man.
I mean, how God, so when you think about, and I've had 2 or 3 things in my life, I said, God, if you wanted somebody else, you should have picked somebody else to do it. Now, if you pick me, here I am. Faults, failures, good and bad. But now you know me, Lord. Here I am. And I think about Noah, how tough he had to be. And I'm sure that, but then when we get away from all the spiritual, great, beautiful stuff of this just man, sweat. Blisters, shoving, pushing.
Planning.
Oh, man. drawing a line and making it straight.
Putting up with complaining sons that don't want to do it anymore.
Can you imagine? I ain't even going to mention the daughter-in-laws probably, but I mean, there he was. And people, I mean, what a man, when you think about the character of that man, I think so often it's skipped over, and it, for me, it has been in my life. I'm just grasping more and more, maybe I'm rethinking it, but I think of how tough he was and how strong he was and how committed he was to the task at hand when nobody was encouraging him. Nobody was saying, Noah, you're the man, you can do it, and how these emotions now, we seem to have to be encouraged so much, and people have to be encouraged and pampered and saying how sweet you are and how we love you, Pastor, and how we think you're doing such a good job, and how, oh man, here's this. And I'm thinking, here's a guy against all odds. Mm-hmm. How much different he was. And just a speck of that character could be in us somewhere. How great it would be. I don't know. I'm a little hung up with him. When I think about it, I don't know. I think about it. All right, let's talk about this just a moment. Let's talk about money, okay? Of the culture, and it's all right. But I think sometimes in the world we live in today that it's easy for money to become a burden, okay? And money to become, first thing I think of, health is the greatest asset, by far. Money, I mean, Elvis died on the toilet, okay?
Yeah.
So the money didn't matter. Michael Jackson died in his sleep from drugs. But I mean, I think about things, but when I think about how money can become a burden and why it does become why the lack of it, and you hit on it a little bit earlier on, we can think about finances and think about things. Somewhere we think, to me, success is freedom, okay? In my life, to be successful means I've got freedom to choose to sit down with you today. Okay? To me, this is successful. It means I'm successful. That I can make a choice to sit down with a man that's wrote these books, a man that I grew up with, that's raised his family, and that to me is success. And money can not always bring success for people in their life. It can become a burden and a yoke. People can live above their means. And because I don't know why, okay, they can go above it and get too much and thinking that I have to have more and more and more and more.
Right.
And what's your thoughts when we just talk about money? Big subject.
It is. And, everybody's different with it. I was talking to my youngest son the other day. My sons, they're all different. And I was talking to him the other day. I said, son, I'm afraid you're going to be like me. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I think you're going to have the ability to make money hand over fist. You'll make money anywhere, anything you do, you'll be able to make money. But you're the type of person that you'll give it to everybody that comes along. He said, is that a bad thing? I said, I guess not. I don't know. But he's the same way as me, and he is so talented that he's going to be able to do things.
Right.
But if the first person's in need, he's going to give it to him. And money today is it's there. It's out there for people. And it's people. A lot of people, their favorite pastime is to hate billionaires.
Right.
If you don't want to like not being a billionaire, or you don't like billionaires,
right.
Or if you're bad that they're a billionaire, become one yourself. Right. Invent something.
Yeah.
Do something. Create something. And do it on your own. Don't hate somebody just because you're not that person.
Yeah. I just think sometimes success can be confused with money. Okay? I think success, and I know, listen, man, I'm not against money. I like having money too. And I like to be able to fill that camper up and leave. And to me, success, not too long ago, I'm sitting at the house with the kids, and everybody comes to the house, and we try to eat together at least twice a week during the summer. The kids come to the house, and we eat. And then about 7, 8 o'clock at night, everybody got done, they left, and I turned to Janice, and I said, let's put 50 gallons of water in the camper and go to Myrtle Beach. And by 6 hours later, I'm at Myrtle Beach sitting in the Cracker Barrel parking lot, sleeping overnight. Next day, I'm still my feet in the sand because I want to see the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay? And to me, and it takes some money to do that. I'm not doing that for free. But I think sometimes that we get so bound up in people's lives they do that they think that is success. Success is having a peaceful family. Okay? Success is having people around you that really do love you. The challenges of money sometimes, and I know you've got wealthy friends. I've got wealthy friends. We all know people that are wealthy.
Yeah.
It's hard for wealthy people to have friends, okay, because they're thinking, do people want something from me? Okay, and that wealth can be a burden too. All right? I mean, you know, if your son got a car lot and somebody wants to be friends, maybe they want a car and want a deal. Okay, yeah. I mean, you know, so you always got little things that you run into, and but I think success, when we talk about money, can be so. You have to be so careful with that, and put the right value on money. You trade your time for money and your money for stuff. That's a basic worldwide principle. Time for money, money for stuff. Yeah. So you need to watch what you. Well, now I'll just tell you this, and I know your son talking about a car lot. The worst investment in the world's a car.
It is.
Okay, unless you're selling it. Okay, if you're selling them.
I had a car dealer, Charlie Cole. The Cole family is the nicest people I've ever met in my life. They were just all. Their slogan was integrity in the car business. It was 100% correct. They are 100% up and up. Right. If Tommy Cole found out somebody was charged too much for a car, he insisted a salesman bring those people back in and cut the price. Right. You know, that's just the type of people it was, and that's the way that they done things all the time.
I just believe we have to be the success when we talk about it, just to be careful.
Yeah, but Charlie, he refused to ever let us say a car was a good investment.
Right.
And he said it's not an investment because you're not going to get anything back. It's going to depreciate. Yeah. You know, it's going to lose money. Whatever you pay for this car, unless you really, really was a lucky person, you're going to get less out of it, you know, unless it becomes an antique or something than what you gave for it.
I shared
a lot less.
Story the other day. My truck's got 150,000 miles on it, but I like it. And anyway, and the other day, that four-wheel drive been making a little clicking noise. Okay. So Janice just started a fit. She said, and I shared the story the other day. She told me, said, I need you to get you a truck. She wanted me to leave, made me leave, go to the car lot, try one out. And I said, I believe I know what's wrong. And I called them up at the Ford place and told them. They said, yeah, we know what's wrong with it. $300-some, I fixed my truck and I'm still driving it.
Saved you $60,000 or $50,000.
I mean, so, you know, I mean, and it just, when I think about things, and that's why I haven't bought the Chevrolet Spark yet. I think about that $200 a month. But I might do it anyhow. I'm on the edge with it. I'd love, if I get me one, I'm going to go straight up and get me an outbuilding that I can park it in and keep it inside. Because I just would love, I'm going to get me a 5-speed so I don't have to worry about transmission. Unless I could find somebody and trick them into giving me a lifetime warranty. Now, if I could, the other day I seen Ramey's had one on their lot, and I got the little text from it, and I messaged them back. I said, "Do I get a lifetime warranty?" I never heard back, but I thought to myself, Phil Akers got a lifetime warranty on a truck one time. Phil did. He had a pickup truck, a Ranger pickup truck, and that's back when McCann's was out here, and they somehow gave him a lifetime warranty when he bought that truck. He used it to pull logs with in the mountains, everything in the world. I don't know how many transmissions they put in that truck. I said, it's a dangerous thing, ain't it?
It is.
Shoot. All right. Advice. If there's people listening to you right now, somebody's there, and you had to give them advice on having a peaceful life, what would you say to them?
Best advice I've ever get anyone is simply relax. To whatever situations you go through, whatever you're in at the time, at least take a minute, a day or so to sit back and relax and don't panic. The worst thing I ever went through, the thing that I'd done wrong, the worst thing I done was I panicked. And panic will get you into bad trouble sometimes. It'll make you say things you shouldn't say, do things you shouldn't do. When you back up and you think about it a while, man, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I hadn't have said that. But if I had just relaxed, took time out, you know, just take some deep breaths, then you'll think and you'll approach your situation a whole lot better.
Yeah, I think it's good advice.
Yeah,
take a breath, dial it back, baby, and because sometimes things can change just a little bit. If you give them just a minute.
Yes.
Second chance. And I believe second chances, giving people a second chance. And third, my wife says I'll make excuses for Charles Manson. I'm bad about giving people chances and over. And the reason why is I know I'm still a little rough, and I want people to be lenient on me. And I'm hoping those seeds I plant, that they'll work out for me just a little bit, you know, and it'll, I don't know, man. I just think it's real. Well, Mike, I'm excited about your books. People can find you. I know they can find you on Facebook.
Just type my name into Amazon.
Ask you all kinds of questions, and they can talk to you about them. It's a great thing that you're doing, man. I admire it. It's history in the making. You know, I sit down with my grandpa in 1992 and interviewed him in 92. And I cherish that interview I had with him. I sit down over at War in the studio upstairs. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And I interviewed him, sit down and talked to him about his life growing up. And it was just, I think about that interview and that time. That was history.
Yeah.
You know, and he tell me all about it, and we talked about a lot. We've done it twice. We sit down and just talked about things in our life and things he'd been through.
You know, you was talking about Dean, and Dean sat with a recorder and had, when Carl was passing away, had Carl just tell stories, and Dean recorded them all. And it, like you said, it's just an amazing thing. He gave me a lot of the recordings. I have them myself.
And he transcribed those.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Nowadays, that's so much easier to do.
I could sit here for hours and tell stories of Carl Kennedy.
Yeah, he was something.
The things that I've heard myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Good man. I
Very
really
good.
liked him. And, I mean, there's a lot of things that we've done. And Dean and I grew up some together and stuff, and we grew up, and I tell him all the time, you know, he's been very successful, Dean has, in business and things. And last little bit, you know, he started taking a little time, you know, and doing some things. And I wish he'd done that earlier, he said, you know. But the other day we were talking, I tried to call him along, talk to him. We talked some, and he said, you know, early on in my life, I thought I was smarter than you. And I said, what if you just asked me? I told you wasn't. And he said, because, you know, he said, now I wish I would have took more time. And he's been successful, okay? And you have to be to be really successful in business, you have to be a little crazy. And you have to do nothing but that and think about nothing but that. And that's just the way it is, unless somehow you buy the right stock and take a nap. But I mean, or Nancy Pelosi, the way she's done. But I mean, there's things that you can do. And but I mean, I think I laughed at him and talked to him. I had the best time with him, him and Tim Boyd and Dwayne. Nobody could get a word in for us, just talking and laughing.
Sure,
We absolutely just, and it was a memory that was so memorable in our life. I don't believe there'll ever be a time we can all come together like we did that time.
Yeah.
For those days and just spend time together and talk about growing up. It's good. All right, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, thank you.
You're a blessing.
Enjoyed it.
And I'm excited about what you're doing. We got to sit back down. There's 1,000 other things I want to talk about.
Yeah, have more books coming soon.
Good.
On my ancestors.
Good. Have you done any audio versions yet?
No, I haven't. Hope to soon.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
We have, like I say, I have 5 books on just the War of West Virginia.
Yeah.
The history of war.
Yeah.
3 on Lee Altizer, who was the Constable of War. He was very famous, infamous.
Yeah.
About 100 years old. He was the Constable of the Big Creek District of the war, and he was my great-grandfather, and I've got a whole series on him.
If I ever write a book, I'm going to put a real pretty girl on the cover, though. I'm not going to do like you got these dramatic pictures. That looks a little scary, some of these pictures do. Yeah. I thought I'd put a real pretty girl on the front. Might make it go better than what. Mike, thank you, buddy.